Welcome back to the NFT Talks podcast. And I do have a special guest causing, stirring a lot of things up within the NFT space. I have Nguyen with me. He's responsible for the first Bored Ape restaurant at Bored and Hungry. But we're definitely going to get into all the ins and outs and details. But thank you for coming on. How you doing, Andy?
I'm doing great. I'm very excited. It's been a crazy past few weeks for me after this announcement of this project.
Yeah, so just before we go into regards to what you're doing with the restaurant, tell me a little bit about your background, because I understand you're an entrepreneur. Like you haven't trained the chain of restaurants.
Yeah. I guess I'll start off. I'll kind of run through it quickly. I'm a community college dropout. Dropped out of school early. My friends tricked me to go into real estate at 19 years old. Learned how to make a lot of money, but also learned how much I hated that industry. I was like, this is not cool. It's not fun. And I ended up starting a clothing brand. And I did the clothing thing for about 7 years, kind of built up like my branding, marketing, like generating hype, like all that streetwear stuff. I kind of built that into what I went into next, which was food. And I ended up starting this ice cream store for fun back in 2014 with my friends. Applied a lot of the lifestyle aspects of streetwear into it, which nobody did before. And it just took off, right? Lines down the block every day for like 2-3 years. Now we have just the ice cream store alone, we have about 27 locations. And other concepts, I guess, I've helped launch along the way. So we're about 60 stores with everything going on with our burger place we have a burger place in Houston, Texas. I work with Hello Kitty Cafe in Las Vegas. I got a coffee store called Matt Black Coffee out in LA. Well, this is crazy. It gets crazy. And then now, in the Web3, jumping into my fourth career, which is the Web3 space.
You know what? It doesn't surprise me, Andy, based on what you just said then, why you've entered the NFT space. I mean, first thing you said, look, I don't enjoy this. I want to do this. You kind of like, if I don't enjoy it, I'll switch and do this. And you mentioned you do it with your friends. You seem like you're open to just trying things. I mean, because did you have any, I'm going to take it, you didn't have any experience in the real estate side of it before you went into it. The clothing side of it, you didn't have any experience, I'm assuming, because it's the first thing. And obviously the restaurants, did you have any experience before that?
Still don't even know how to cook to this day.
so yeah, there you go. Like, and then you see, to me, correct me if I'm wrong, you seem like a not entrepreneur, but a builder. You enter places and you do what you want and you make shit happen.
Yeah, I guess like I like to create with cool people, and I like to do fun things that are interesting and groundbreaking and definitely piques people's interest. Like I definitely have a knack for getting people's attention in one way or another. And just on applying it to a business in the business world.
Okay, so how did you even get into NFTs? I mean, were you into crypto before, or when did you hear about the NFT space, and when did you actually decide to like, okay, I'm going to kind of dive in and be a part of it?
And definitely the last 2 years, I've been hearing. Obviously, the conversation's been everywhere. Right? You hear if you're in the know of what's happening, you definitely hear it going on all the time. I've had friends, especially in the past year, keep pushing me like, hey, you need to jump into space, like it's waiting for you. And I'm like, what are you talking? Like, I can't, I'm so busy with opening restaurants, I don't have time for this. And my friend just keeps showing me his wallet. Like one day it's at 60,000, next thing is like 400,000, and another day it's at 6. I was like, what? I was like, what's going on right now? Like it's not even about the money, it's just like what's happening? I don't understand it. And then obviously it's like in one, everyone's talking about it, but just in one ear out the other, right? And then for myself, I was just so slammed with opening everything that I didn't have time to look into it. And towards the end of the year, that's when things finally started flow. Like I was like, hey, I have a little bit of time to sit down. I was always trying to figure out how to raise a lot of capital in the restaurant industry to build. Like I was like, if somebody gave me a ton of money, I could do something and change the world, right? That's all I always felt, because I've always felt like I've always built businesses through my own tight window. Everything was on a tight budget. Like I made cool things happen, but I was like, hey, give me that tech money. I'll make some crazy things happen. In the restaurant industry, it's super hard to raise that kind of money. It's like everyone wants to work in the restaurant industry because they think it's cool, but once they get into it, they're like, hey, the margins are slim. It's not easy. It's a lot of hard work. And I started learning more about my friends that are raising money in the tech industry, right? You got tech investors that'll go like, here, I'll give 10 companies like $100 million. And if 9 out of 10 of them lose, they're like, okay, whatever, right? Yeah. And then I was like, wait a minute, how do I marry the two together? But I don't want to do tech. I don't want to do another application for food. I was like, that's not what I want to do or like to do. I started telling my friends about it, and he's like, "Did you know you could do that with NFTs?" I was like, "What? What are you talking about?" And then I got into this rabbit hole with him, and we started learning more. And then once I started figuring out, it's like, hey, NFT brings together community, branding, marketing, um, crowdfunding. It's like all those things I've been doing for the past 18 years already into one. And I was like, oh my God, this is it. I know exactly what I need to do. I found the void. I'm ready to jump in. So let's go.
So you talked about a few things there, but obviously there's a lot of money within the crypto and NFT space, which is attracting a lot of people. But one thing you did say is that which I want to focus on, is that do what you're good at. What I can see what you're doing. You're applying something you already do in the real world, and you're applying the tech to what you're doing at this point. Whereas I feel a lot of people enter the space and think, okay, then that project's made all the money. Let's go do a PFP project, or let's go and copy then. Well, I don't think that's the right approach. I mean, is that how you looked at it?
No, I looked at it in definitely a different light, right? Because everyone's like, oh, tons of money, fast money, that's easy. Like everyone's like pushing me, hey, you need to jump in because I'm like, I never did this. If I jumped into business for money, I could have been a drug dealer. I could have been amazing out there, right? Like there's so much things that you do can make money, but that's not why I did business for. That never attracted me, right? What attracted me was the level and the speed of impact in the community, right? Like if you do things right and it takes off, that will take care of you financially anyways. Like I'm not even worried about that stuff. I was like, but the impact and level of how things change so quickly and how it hits a massive amount of people, like I've never seen this in my entire life. And I think that was the big part of it. And also the application of like, hey, applying the URL to IRL, right? No one's really doing it. Everyone keeps talking about like, how does it apply to real life? I was like, I know how to do real life experiences. That's what I do best. That's what I've been doing. And now it's like, how do I marry the two together? And I was like, I got it. I know exactly what I needed to do now, and I'm going to go for it.
So when did it get to the Bored Ape side? Do you own a Bored Ape? Assuming, is it your ape that we see?
Yeah. That's the Bored Ape. So because I obviously wanted to do an NFT project too, which is coming after. Right? That's the next project. That's the big picture of what I'm working on, right? That's like the big goal. But I wanted to enter the community respectfully, right? Because I know, I can't just walk in the community and be like, "Yo, I'm here," right? People are like, "No, that guy, you got enough things going on already. What do you need to take? You need to take more bread from our community." No, so I was like, "Okay, I'm gonna do something for the community I believe that's gonna put the community in a better light, right?" So I was like, "Hey, what should I do?" And I was like, "I got it." I was like, I'm gonna buy the thing that the most popular thing right now. Everyone knows what it is. You can live anywhere in the world right now. If you know about cool and culture, then you know what a Bored Ape is, right? Like it's just what it is. Like having a Ferrari, but now the whole world just knows about it. So I was like, okay, this is what I'm gonna do. Once I stood and I understood the IP usage, which is a big part of like my branding and what I've done in my past career already. I was like, I'm gonna buy the Bored Ape. I'm gonna post it on my profile picture, and I know exactly what's gonna happen, right? I can predict what people are gonna do. They go, look at this guy flexing over here, right? Look at his profile picture, and the other side's gonna be like, oh, Andy's jumping in. Okay, now what's going on? We need to pay attention. If he's jumping in, we're curious, right? There's a lot of skeptics and a lot of people that don't know about the industry are very skeptical. But if they see someone like me who's had a trusted brand for the past decade or so, they're like, okay, if Andy's jumping in, there's got to be something to it, right? So it starts bringing the conversation, which is what I want. 1 week after that, I post a picture of this digital image of the packaging with the mutant apes and the Bored Apes on it, and people are like, "Oh, whoa, okay, he's got something planned now, right?" But since it's still a digital image, they're like, "Is he opening a digital restaurant, right, with the Bored Ape IP?" And then the week later, I posted, after that, that's when it went crazy when I posted the picture of the restaurant, the space of the restaurant, and the signage that says "Bored and Hungry," and people were like, "Oh, this guy's using the IP to bring it together." And the reason for that is, I wanted to for the community, Web3 community. I'm making a real life experience for them, right? This is for you guys. Like, here's a place for you guys. Come hang out, get special perks. It's just a gift. There's a gift for the community for like, hey, thanks for showing me the light. Like, I'm gonna give something back for you guys before I enter it. And then for the normie community, the skeptics, now they can see that it's more than just a JPEG, that bad stigma, right? Now you're seeing that you can turn it into a business. You can build a brand around it. You're building this whole new ecosystem. And if you want to get educated, you can come here and learn about it, right? You can connect with other people and we can be the place where we teach you guys about being safe, like entering correctly. Just there's just
important. Now, like the fact, I love that, like Andy, like you're talking about so many things, and I think that's the right approach. And okay, you should strategically said you bought an ape to kind of deliver on what you're doing to bring something tangible that some people can see. But like you said, it's a gift for the community. It wasn't a selfish thing saying I'm going to do something and it's all for me. Everybody's going to be able to benefit from it. So I want to kind of dig into, okay, then we've seen the kind of the packaging, we've seen the space. Now, what's actually tell me about the restaurant, like what kind of restaurant is it? I guess like what is it? Like, okay, what's going to happen? I know that the launch is on the 9th April, which you've announced some exciting things in regards to performances. You're going to have POAPs, verified holders, Bored Ape holders are going to be able to have a free meal. I'm sure I've spotted a few things with the caption. I've seen the powered by is it Trillburger? So that means performance. I'm thinking Bumby is involved.
We'll see.
I'm looking, man. I'm looking. So yeah, tell me a bit about what's going to be happening and how things will work.
Yeah, the Bored and Hungry concept is, I wanted the name to be generalized and fun and unique. Definitely sparked attention even using that name, Bored and Hungry. It's a smash burger concept. I fell in love with smash burgers over the past like 3-4 years, and I think for myself that's the easiest thing for people to it's easy to marinate for people, like a burger, fries, and drink, right? But also looks great on packaging, right? And I knew exactly, I was like, hey, it's gonna look great on packaging, great on IP. The fast food type of style stuff is very digestible to the masses. That's why I kind of wanted to make something relatable, so a lot of people can come and enjoy it and also learn about the space and community. But I think there's a lot of different components that we're trying to bring together for this concept. Special performances, of course. We're trying to figure out right now. We're trying to figure out how do we accept crypto payments, ApeCoin. Like everyone's asking me the day I announced it, like, are you accepting ApeCoin? I was like, I don't know. They just launched ApeCoin today, so I'm trying to figure out just like everyone else is. We're gonna do a lot of events throughout the time period. I'm also gonna do a lot of collaborations with other holders and hopefully maybe not even the boarding. I might work with different NFT projects, right? They might take over the store and have a different type of menu, right? It's supposed to be, this is for the community, right? Bored Ape this is the statement, right? It was made to make a statement. It's the most popular thing, the top topic and top line for people. But along the way, I do want to share other projects, right? There's all the dope projects, there's cool small projects, there's cool different communities out there, and maybe I'll end up opening in different areas already. I've got inquiries already in my box, like, hey, can we open in this country? Can we open this day? And I'm like, I didn't even open my first story. Let me get this done first and then we'll talk.
Well, touching on our collaboration, which I think is important, NFT space, Web3 space, collaborations is so important. And tell me, was this strategic, the time that you dropped it? I don't think it was, because you managed to drop it just after ApeCoin, just after
I was so
Lava Lab.
Yeah.
Like, crazy. Like you were on the top of the peak in regards to Bored Ape just hadn't done nothing for the last few months, and then they come out with these things, and you're like, okay, then the cherry on top, restaurant, like.
The cool part of this journey, right? Timing is everything. That everything just hit. But I was supposed to fire this thing back in January, right? So I was supposed to announce this back in January. But let me tell you the crazy story about this whole thing, right? It gets wild. So December, back in November, December, when I came up with this idea, I didn't own any NFTs yet. Like I owned 0, right? So learning this entire process, it's not as easy as you think. You just go in there and buy. Like it's not going to a car dealership and buying for. It's not the same thing, right? Like so, I'm like, okay, I need to go buy a Bored Ape. I need to go figure out how to do it. Obviously, you need to plug money into a Coinbase, right? So got to start a Coinbase account. Luckily I had a Coinbase account, but I never put that much money in there before. So when I started putting, this is the time when things were like, I think Bored Ape was around 70, 77 at the floor. And then I plugged money in. I was like, hey, I'll just 77, cool. I'll figure it out. We'll put money together. We'll put it in. And then you have to go to the bank and you have to wire it to who knows where it goes, right? Wire it to Coinbase. And then I don't see it in the account for a day. So I'm like, oh, I hope I didn't give the money away. The banker's like, you're sending $250,000. Crazy. This doesn't make sense. and then it finally hits Coinbase. And when you have that much money, you can't just go put it in MetaMask right away and start buying it. There's a 6-day hold. And in that time period, in that 6 days, it's jumping from 77 to like 90 ETH, right? And I was sitting here like, I was like, oh my God, like what's happening right now? So I was like, I gotta inject more money. And as I was injecting more money, just again, gets to the hold and then goes up again. And I was like, oh crap, this doesn't make sense. Like it's still jumping. I don't know if I can keep up this. Now it's a lot of money. The risk has raised up even higher. So I have this great idea since I never bought NFTs. Like, hey, why have some money in there right now? I'm just gonna buy some mutants right now, right? While it all goes up. And then by the time my money clears, I'll just buy it all and I'll be good. But what happened was I bought it at its peak.
Oh gosh.
And after I bought these three mutants at its peak, it drops like heavy. And I was like, oh, I just lost like $60,000-$70,000 in like a day. What's going on right now? It's all mixed up. And then a few days later, like one of my partners was holding one of my mutants because we are just doing this campaign.
Yeah.
He gets hacked.
Oh my gosh.
So we lose a Mutant Ape, and I was like, oh my goodness, I just lost like $70,000, and I'm still trying to land this ape right now, and this is giving me this whole headache. And but finally, after 3 months, March 1st is when I got the ape, and I announced it that day. But it was a whole process just to even land it.
You got the real. I mean, I said the real experience. It's not everyone's going to get a bad experience, but this is we talk about the risk side of it of the NFT space. We're very early. Whether we're in the real world, and I'm sure you can vouch for that in business, there's still risk in the real world. So,
oh yes,
and obviously this is a place where it's very early. Not a lot of people are educated. The security, the safety side of it too. Also, so people will lose money if they're not careful, and it's happened to you. And I'm sure you were approaching it as safely as possible. And
I got smarter afterwards. I got my ledger, and I moved the rest of my assets in right away. It took me like 5 hours to figure out. I was like, whatever it takes, I need to secure everything now.
Well, you know what? Maybe it's a blessing in disguise, because now you got the ape. The apes. Yeah. This is the ape that's waving the flag for the restaurant, and that didn't get taken. And you needed to kind of have that, keep that ape secure. So, all right. So moving on to more about the restaurant. So let's talk about the actual launch day, like what's going to be happening. And I know I mentioned a few things, but let's start with performances. Like I seen today that obviously Call Down, Snoop's son posted you to also. I don't know if you've seen that. I don't know if it's a coincidence. And Snoop Dogg, isn't he not from Long Beach? He's
from Long Beach. We'll see what happens. I can't say anything.
I'm just putting it out there.
Putting the energy out there. We'll see what happens, right?
Okay, so yeah, is there any performance that you can say, or
no, definitely can't say any of the performances. I gotta keep that. Okay. Keep that back pocket right now.
Talk to me about POAPs then. So you're gonna have a POAP on the day.
Yeah, launch. I think that's a cool. It's a different community that actually collects POAPs, and I think it's people want to show where they're going or what they landed, and I think that's a great fun idea for it's like treasure hunting, or just like playing through a game, playing through a video game, playing through an app. So we just kind of gamify the entire experience with the POAP.
And so when you collect that POAP on the day, is it just available for that launch day? Is it just a launch day POAP?
We will probably have different ones along the way, as long as we do different events, and we might do extra pop-ups in different areas. But that might, if you have that pull-up that day, that might have extra perks later on, right?
That's what I was thinking. Like, I mean, what can you say? Kind of things that what potentially it could be.
What it
is. What it could be.
All of it.
Say again.
We're working through all of it. I'm still learning, right? I was like learning about all the perks and what we can offer and what kind of things we can gamify. So we're figuring it out right now. But we're definitely, if you come that day and get a POAP, I will definitely have something special down the line for them, for all the holders.
Okay. All right, cool. And what about ape holders then? So obviously we've got the free meal, which is great. Like, do they have to pay if they go large, or is it?
Why not? I'm gonna take care of them that day.
Take care of them that day.
The community. I'm gonna take care of them because the community is why I'm here today, right? Because they took care of me. I'm definitely gonna give back. I have to give back. So They can go large. I got them.
Is it? And talk to me about the mills then. Like, have you thought about names of the mills? Like, the
Yeah,
type
how
of
about we obviously I'm thinking like the board side would be our regular smash burger. Our mutant side would be our vegan menu of the burgers.
okay.
I also got some serum milkshakes that I'm working on. I'm doing what else am I working on right now?
Anything for
Trying to figure.
dogs? Anything for the kennel club? Anything for dogs?
We eventually we will, right? Right now we're trying to lock the process down. And I know the first day is going to be crazy, so we're going to keep the menu as simplified as possible and just roll out more along the way. And that's going to keep people excited along the way too, as we continue.
I agree. So okay, so you've got the you're launching it obviously. And is there anything you're thinking about branching out into further from restaurants after this? I mean, is this the game plan at the moment? Because you talked about a PFP project that you're going to do. So can you touch on that a little bit? Like,
get the first leak. We are working on a project. We've been working on a project for a while now called Food Fighters Universe. For myself, that's my thing about I'm going to be the guy that saves the restaurant industry. Right, the restaurant industry is such in a bad shape right now. Food costs are continually rising out here where we're at. The pay, no one wants to work because the pay is not enough, right? Even though we're raising up the minimum wage out here, but people still don't want to work. The service has changed since the pandemic. It's continuing to decrease. And myself, when I looked at it 5 years from now, I was like, if I'm continuing this route, there's no way I'm going to stay in it. I'm going to switch to something else. But with the NFT world, I can bridge a lot of it together. Right? I can definitely work on putting the NFT world in a different and a better light for people, because everyone's watching me, right? They're watching me to see if I succeed or not. If I fail, I'm going to take things back. But if I succeed, I'm pretty much going to change the game, because this project, not just saving the restaurant industry. I'm working on developing new projects that are determined by the community. They're going to vote on hey, am I going to work with this rapper in this concept, or am I going to do this concept? A lot of cool things. And then I can build out better experiences now, right? And also get the feedback from the community on what they want and where it opens at. Maybe they want one in the UK, right? Then I got to do it, right? If they want one in New York or Atlanta, then I got to make it happen, and I got to develop cool concepts around it. But who better than me to make it happen at this point, right? I'm in the food realm, and I know how to do that already. So if I can do it with everyone, I think it's going to be a fun project.
Yeah, I'm interested to see that. Are you looking to implement tech into the restaurant? So we're talking about AR or VR. Yep. Are these things?
We got a whole AR team right now working on it. And once I start leaking, the AR team is the one that just put out the video for the Bored and Hungry yesterday. I love that. Yeah, the team that made that. But for our Food Fighters Universe project, they got some tricks up their sleeve. We're definitely taking up another notch.
I think one thing you touched on, Andy, is I feel, and this is not me attacking anybody in the space, because I don't know everybody, but as people, the early collectors, a lot of them are early adopters to the NFT space, not necessarily business people that they may be creators and whatnot, but you yourself coming from an entrepreneurial background, I think it's good for the space to show that, okay, obviously with Bored Apes having owning the IP, and you showing the possibilities of what can happen and what you can do with this, because everyone just thinks, oh, it's a JPEG, but because the brand or the project is blowing up so much, you're leveraging off that marketing, and everybody's become if you open another restaurant and you didn't have the ape involved, tell me about how much marketing that would have taken, and tell me about the response. Actually, tell me the difference between opening a restaurant yourself and opening a restaurant using a Bored Ape. Is there been anything different in regards to the response?
There's definitely a huge difference, right? Because if I opened it, yes, it'll probably be busy, but the response I've gotten from Bored and Hungry is not normal. Right? You can't pay for that, right? You can't pay for that. It's nearly impossible to catch that. You definitely have to understand timing, what's going on right now. I caught that way. I'm in that right now. So I'm seeing it. I can't even, it's answering my DMs are it's taking me 48 hours to answer. Normally I'm within 24 hours. Right now I'm guys, I can't even answer it. This is too crazy right now. I've never seen anything like this before. But it's definitely exploded and put my name in the Web3 community right now. That's why I'm here talking to you today, right?
Yeah, facts, man.
I got everyone's attention.
Who else is can you tell me anyone else has reached out to you Web3 wise, whether it's projects or individuals, influencers?
I've been talking to so many dope people in the space. Like we actually hosted Doodles and Noodles
Yeah.
did an event in Austin, and we actually our food fighters team actually did the whole food for them. We helped set up the whole food area, so everything that they served, we're working that event with them. So we're meeting a lot of dope people in the space that are making huge impacts, right? I know Bobby Hundreds from Adam Bomb Squad for a long time. The Fomos Mofos guys that sold out collection, the DGen tunes he's a guy that's been following my brand for the past decade. You know, and he has a sold out project. He's been killing it. We're doing Starcatchers. Starcatchers has an event next week for NFT LA, and we're doing the food for them. We have our own activation for Food Fighters Universe next week. Special performances there too.
Can't mention the name.
Today we're catering one of the artists, Aaron Kai. We're serving Bored and Hungry burgers there. So we're tying all these like Web3 guys like all together and networking and learning about space too. Because you can't know everything about space, right? So every day is moving so quickly that I'm just picking up along the way and collaborating and just doing things just doing fun things. So it's crazy.
Yeah, I mean the exposure, like you touch just the exposure you've had. Like I'm in the UK, and I mean I don't really hear about restaurants launching within the US, but I heard about this one. So I mean, like, yeah, it's crazy exposure you must have had, and I guess it's kind of you've got to roll and with the momentum and keep building on that. Like, okay, so you've entered the restaurant game on a business model space, like in regards to smart contracts and NFTs in the restaurant industry. How do you think, will it change things apart from obviously the IP with Bored Apes, but on a business side of it, will it change anything around that? Are there things that you think about, well, if this was in place as an NFT or we could use smart contracts, it would improve this side of the catering industry, I should call it, say restaurant industry?
Absolutely. The restaurant industry is so dinosaur-like. Like everyone is like moves super slow, right? Everyone's weary, right? They come in as chefs and cooks, and you know they know that side of the world, but when it comes to like technology or things in culture, they're like, you know, it's like rocket science for them, right? But if I can paint this, you know, help them, guide them along the way as I continue to experiment and try different things, and if it works, then it's going to open the doors and change the world, because everyone's going to hop on. They're like, oh, that's how he did it. Now let me help walk you guys through it. Let me hold your hand and show you guys how to do this right.
Yeah. Okay. So restaurant industry, is there anything, you also mentioned you got a background in clothing too. Also, you've had a clothing brand for 7 years. So moving away from what obviously the restaurant side of it, does a digital fashion excite you in any way? And NFTs, digital fashion and NFTs within fashion. I know you said you're friends with Bobby Hundreds, so obviously you're familiar with what them guys are doing with Adam Bombs, but
yeah, all the products. Yeah, it's definitely exciting because I get it, right? We see her like, hey, Mike, I have kids, right? I can see my kids. I see my kids hanging out in the metaverse, and they're going to care about what their characters look like. They're going to care about what they're wearing, right? They're going to want to have their own look and style. And I was like, that's how I would. I was like, that's how I was in a different realm when I was younger. Maybe it was in real life, but this is their new real life now, and they're going to be so savvy, and it's going to be completely different. And I'm not going to be behind. I understand that. I get it. I know what they're going to do. So.
To me, like I said, I've got a background in fashion too, also like manufacturing side, and like I said, it makes sense to me. And it doesn't have to. Everyone thinks we say digital fashion, it doesn't have to be just digital fashion. It can be digital fashion alongside with physical fashion. So you mentioned you're into streetwear, so I know you're probably into your Supremes and things like that. So the demand that they created around for their product, just imagine if it was NFTs, and in order to get in the line, you had to have an access to an NFT rather than lining up and hoping you get, rather than sleeping over in the line, you just get access to the NFT, and that gives you access to purchase a garment. So them the kind of things that I'm excited about. And you mentioned about gamifying things too also. Have you thought about that in regards to how we can add more value to clothing? We wear it at this point physically, but what about if we can add videos to the clothing? So maybe if you sell merch for the restaurant and you may be able to send discounts to the hoodie, and you'll be able to access this discount via wearing the hoodie. Does that make sense?
Yeah, of course. You use AR and you see things
Yeah,
going
yeah,
on
yeah.
time. And yeah, of course, if you gamify, make reasons why people get it. If you scan this T-shirt, that gives you access to this T-shirt that's only limited to 50, maybe. Like that feel like, okay, now I need to get this because I really want that. I really want that one, so I gotta have both. And now you just end up you just help upsell them on two, but now they're wearing the brand twice as much than they would
Yeah,
normally.
yeah. I mean, that's how the brands kind of doing it. I mean, I didn't do it. They did that to a certain extent before, like these brands were like Supreme, but it's interesting how we can apply technology to everything now. I feel like the way I look at NFTs, it's technology that it can add extra functionalities to anything, whether it's a piece of clothing to a restaurant, and add more value. So like, is a utility that is going to come with, obviously with the restaurant, going back to the restaurant, is there different utilities that are going to come with that alongside
Yeah,
NFT projects?
Your experiment. That's a lot of our conversation lately. That's what we're trying to figure out. Like, how do we build out the utility even more, right? How do we make it, how do we tie it with the AR side and the VR side and gamifying it? I think we're still exploring a lot of different options. And we'll probably land on something real soon, but it's definitely in the conversation.
And what about real estate? Obviously, the owning the land. We talk about how McDonald's kind of expanded. They make money from owning the land. So NFTs and real estate, fractionalized ownership to maybe, I don't know if the ape owners that could be offered, or like is that the kind of conversation you're having, or you thought about potentially in the future?
Of course, so we definitely know we want to own the real estate, right? That's always the safest bet that you want to go, especially in the restaurant industry. You want to own the real estate. Like you said, the McDonald's movie painted the picture like, hey, if you want to be successful, that's what you need to do. And I obviously I still dabble in real estate one way or another. Of course, I'm looking into that.
All right, good. So anything apart, moving away from you, okay, you entered NFT space, you had a strategic way of regards to highlighting the Bored Apes and opening the restaurant. Is there any other things you're interested in project-wise that you're looking into? Maybe to start something like this business-wise?
I see a lot of different things in the space changing. I see later on, like myself, I'm like, okay, well, how about I create an anti-counterfeit business where you have to, like, you want to spot fake Nikes. Now you can scan the code to make sure that if it's on the blockchain, if it's not, then you got a fake shoe. Like, that's going to change the entire game, right? For handbags and for large companies, like if I could create something like that, that's gonna be huge, right?
Yeah.
And in terms of like projects that I'm looking into, I like to look into projects that have strong founders behind it, right? People that have had a successful track record, because they're not coming into this for strictly money, right? They're coming into this they're not going to ruin their brand to do a rug pull. They're not going to do that. It's just, they won't. And those are the projects that I'm looking more into now. As you can see, like everyone that has a Facebook, everyone researching projects now, they're looking for who's behind that. They're getting docs, like
Yeah.
and I think that's a big important thing, and I think that's the next wave of things. It's who's behind the project, and what are they doing, what's the track record like. And I think that's you need to buy into trusted brands. Before I was just buying into hype, but it's not going to work anymore.
Facts, man. Like you mentioned about obviously the verifying of the Nike thing. I don't know if you've seen what happened to StockX. Nike was suing StockX.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, like that. Like this is. I just find that crazy. Like StockX have been around for obviously and established themselves as the middleman verifiers. But now with NFTs, like NFTs are literally it's going to disrupt their model, because the minute Nike come out and they make all their trainers with NFTs, and I'm sure they're going to do that, then what's going to happen to companies like StockX? Is there any need for them anymore? Like,
I think they're going to get watched. Get watched. It's just part of the game. That's going to happen.
Yeah. That's it. So this is there any other things that, based on that like scenario, is there anything that any other industries that you've kind of been a part of that you feel that are in danger to a certain extent, if in regards to NFTs?
I think a lot of companies in general are going to shift. It's gonna be, I think, in everything from your receipts to your tickets to go to places, right? It's gonna be an NFT, and it's going to continue. The NFT world is going to evolve. It might not be this profile picture thing anymore. Like, this might be over with in the next few months, right? But it'll evolve into something crazier and become part of everyone's daily lives. That's what I think.
No, I 100% agree. And in regards to your circle, I'm sure you're rubbing shoulders with a lot of different people, whether it's music, fashion, and so on. Is there anyone that is not involved and kind of turns their nose upon it at the moment? Not naming names, that you kind of like that you're like kind of like, look, this is what's happening. Like, you're trying to encourage to get involved. And if they're kind of like rebelling and pushing back, what kind of things are they saying? why they're not interested?
I think before, when I first talked to my friends about buying the ape to do the Bored and Hungry, they definitely didn't get. They're like, what? Like they didn't get it, right? And then I think I was like, I'm just not gonna explain to anyone anymore. I'm just gonna post and let everyone see what happens, right? And then when they saw it, they're like, that's what you were doing. I was like, yeah, fool. Like this, I told you already. I told you this months ago already.
And I guess it helps that I've just seen. I don't know if you've seen it recently, but Madonna just bought an ape, didn't she?
Yeah, I saw that last night.
So is she bought an ape because of the restaurant? If you made this happen, you sure?
No, not through me. Definitely, that was a surprise when I saw that today. So.
All right. So apart from, okay, let's talk about different industries. I know we talked about a bit about fashion. We talked about the restaurant catering. But in regards to music, I mean, have you got interest in music? Have you got background in music? NFT music. What do you think?
Tons of friends in music. Obviously, one of our mutual friends is Spotty Wi-Fi. He's been killing in this. He's been killing the scene, dropping music, and him and Bun B do. They're dropping songs through the NFT world, and it's pretty cool to watch. I think everyone's waiting for a big artist to disrupt it and do it first. I think once that happens and it shows the data, I think it's gonna shift like everything. Like everyone's gonna start hopping in. It just needs that one bigger artist to just make that move.
I'd say that. I mean, when you say that one big artist in regards to bringing out music or what they're doing, because obviously you got Snoop Dogg, obviously with the Death Row label, you got people investing into NFTs. You got Jay-Z with the CryptoPunks. You had Tory Lanez. He did the million album, the $1 million albums, or was it a million albums? I'm not sure what it was, but he made a drop and it was a million NFTs. And there are a few other obviously artists in the space, but what would you say? What would it take when you're saying that big artist, and what would it need to look like in order for people to jump on board?
Or Kanye did it. If Drake or Kanye did it, released an album through NFTs, it's game over. It's game over. Everyone's jumping in after. Or Taylor Swift. One of those three, or Kendrick, if any one of those decided to do it, I think it would completely shift and get everyone's attention like right away. I think everyone's done it. And it's still tinkering. You see Snoop doing it with. I see everyone like watching it. But I think if everyone else does it, that's when everyone's going to start listening to it. They're going to buy it because that's the only way they're going to be able to listen to it, right? If Drake does it, you're not going to not listen to the new Drake album. You have to have it.
You have to have it. You're right. I mean, Kanye kind of did it to a certain extent, but he just did it with the stem, didn't he?
Yeah.
Like he did it with his own thing. So he's he understands. I think he clearly understands the concept, but he's just not aped into NFTs yet. But it'll be interesting to see.
I think he will. I think that his cryptic messages definitely shows that he's grabbing everyone's attention. He knows what he's doing. He's gonna get it sooner than later.
Another thing, go back to the apes though. We've had quite a few. Obviously, the music industry. You have Universal. They bought an ape. You had obviously Snoop, and you had Eminem. I'm sure DJ Khaled.
Yeah.
These guys are all own apes.
Yeah.
So, is there anything that how do you see the future? Like, why are they aping into the apes? What are they looking to do with it? Is it around music? What do you think? Like,
yeah, I saw the singer Ryan Tedder from One Republic and him, and I think one of the DJs, I think Alesso or one of the DJs, they formed a music group with their apes, right? Mm-hmm. And I think the cool part is that utilizing their characters, they can do music that they normally wouldn't put out, right? This is a great chance for them to experiment with different sounds under a different alias. Mm. Talk to people about this before. I talked to some of my friends that are in the music. I was like, yo, you can create music through the NFT world under something. You can drop music that you always wanted to release. You don't have to follow the same formula of what a traditional record label wants you to put out a hit song, right? What you imagine could be a hit song could be dropped through this NFT world as something else, as a different character. And from there, that's when you can prove like, hey, this good music is just good music.
And I think that's nice to lean on to. Once you're doing that for the character, obviously, is this going to be in the metaverse? Like, are they going to be concerts in the metaverse, festivals? Like, what's your thoughts on that? Like, what's your thoughts about the metaverse first? And obviously, entering NFTs into the metaverse, like the kind of things that you're doing, musicians, digital fashion.
Well, I think people are trying to figure out which metaverse is going to be the one. I think that's going to take a while. Everyone's going to fight for that space right now. But there are already people in it. People are playing it. I ran through the Decentraland, seeing what's going on. I was like, oh, this is interesting. This is different. This is cool. And but I can see why, kids gaming and kids. That's the thing, right? That's like
Yeah.
that industry is already so crazy, right? That's already overtaken a lot of sports industries in general, right? The how much money they're making and how much kids are like just watching gaming involved. So I think the metaverse is going to be very similar as people continue to be open to the concept. I think it's gonna shift everything. It's gonna shift gaming, and the real world's all gonna jump into these metaverses. It's gonna be a part of it.
Yeah, and I see the recent announcement with the NFT Fashion Week in the metaverse, which is crazy. You got brands like Dolce Gabbana and whatnot getting involved. So, and they've already entered the space. So it's really interesting seeing all. Like you said, you said yourself, your friends are seeing you. You're a credible person. You've entered the space, and they're questioning like, "Wow, like you've entered the space. There must be something." And we got all these big brands that have entered the space, like Adidas, Nike, Gucci, McDonald's. They've all entered the space and just dabbled a little bit, but for them to give a bit of attention to the space, there's got to be something to it, because I think people still question, what is it? This is a fad. This is a scam. This is a pyramid scheme. Like, what piece of advice would you give to somebody, or argument would you give to somebody that is saying this?
I think I think just like myself, right? You just gotta hop in what you're in some capacity and learn about it and do your research. You don't have to go crazy and buy a Bored Ape like I did to start off. I came in with a different statement, but you can. There's things that you can buy for really cheap to get. Like if you like I guess if you're a collector of things, if you like to collect like Pokemon cards or sports cards or toys, right? It could be a similar realm, right? It just once you fall into it, you start falling in love with it because you start understanding it more. So then you start seeing the other side of the world of it, like, hey, now something you're collecting, the value is jumping up or increasing, or the tradable. There's a lot of things to it that I think you just gotta hop in. And just be safe and be safe and ask questions, right? Don't just do it. You don't have if you're really skeptical, just follow someone that's done it already. Like, hey, what's that guy doing? Like, ask him questions. Like, reach out to me and ask me. Hey, I'll tell you. Like, hey, don't make sure you get a nano. Get you a Ledger Nano to protect your assets. Don't get jacked like I did.
Yeah, well, I've heard a few horror stories, man. So it's never good, but like you said, once it happens, at least you haven't stepped away from the space. You're using that to kind of say, look, this has happened to me. Like I've took an L, and like this is what can happen. So guys, take your precaution, and I think that's important for the space to grow. Is when these experiences happen, you still stay here, you still build, you make people aware of what's happening, and this is what NFT Talks is about, to also just onboarding people safely, because I think it's important to have credible brands, people people can trust and listen to, have some form of information from. So I love the fact that you mentioned we're looking to educate people and help people in the NFT space at the restaurant, because it's not only a restaurant. I assume it can be a hub for people who want to get into NFTs too also.
Yep, that's the goal, is to make sure our staff is educated on it, that they can talk about it amongst each other, and for us to be there and educate and show it. At the same time, we're still learning at the same time too, right? Because this game is continually evolving, but we're having fun. We're having fun because everyone in the community, for the most part, a lot of people love helping each other. I think this community helps each other a lot more than any other community I've been involved in. There's people that I don't know that are up till 3 a.m. walking me through things before I even announced this Bored and Hungry project. Right? They're just walking me through, like happily, like helping me, like, hey, how do I protect this? How do I start? How do I, create this multi-signature safe account? Like, they're literally like, I'll get back to you in an hour. It's like 3 a.m, and 1 hour later, here's the messages. This is what you need to do. Thanks.
Pretty much. What's the weirdest thing you've seen in this space, Andy? Is there anything that you think is like, it's because there is a few crazy things happening, but I mean, what's the weirdest thing you've seen? Like,
weird. I just got, the day I announced Bored and Hungry, I got free ape coins, and I was like, what the hell just happened? I made up. Obviously, when I lost 1 ape, but I just gained a ton from this free ape coin. I was like, this is not normal. I just got free money for doing that, just sitting here.
Crazy. So what about has the Bored Ape Yacht Club reached out to yourself? Have they been in contact with you based on you dropping that?
Not yet. We'll see.
I think
I'm definitely on their radar though, because all my friends are. I'm definitely on their radar. They know what's going on for sure, but they have nothing yet.
Okay. All right. Cool. Well, and it's been a pleasure having you on and speaking to you about obviously the restaurant, I'm sure it's going to be a crazy launch, and based on my conversation with you, I'm sure you're going to take it a lot further than this. So I'm really excited having you in the NFT and the crypto community. So welcome, first of all, and thank you.
Thank you so much
for being a part of the space. Where can people find you and find information about obviously things you'll be doing in the future?
Yeah, you can follow me on my personal social media accounts. It's Andy the Nguyen. If you want to follow Bored and Hungry on Instagram, it's at just Bored and Hungry. And then the Food Fighters project is next, so at Food Fighters Universe, look for us, and we're ready to take over.
I'm sure you are. But guys, thank you for listening. Everyone, stay listening and stay blessed.